Hi, my name's Sarah, and I'm here today to share with you just a small snippet of my story. To be honest, trying to snippetise 37 years I found a little difficult, and God's incredible goodness and the amazing transformation that He's brought about in my life, but I've had a crack at it, so here goes. I was raised in a non-Christian family in rural southeast Queensland. I remember when I was very young, like sitting in the long grass, breathing in the cool of the afternoon and thinking, wow, somebody must have made all of this beauty. But at the time, obviously, I didn't know who this creator was, and I really didn't look into it at all, to be honest. I started out life really full of joy and wonder, but it didn't take long for that to be all but crushed out of me. Fear became a driving force in my life for a really, really long time, and the kind of fear I'm talking about is absolute poison and pretty much the opposite of love. As a textbook firstborn child, I was excuse me, bear with, little nervous. I was a perfectionistic, high-achieving people pleaser. In my last year of high school, after years of fighting, Mum and Dad went through an extremely messy and terrifying divorce process that dragged out over many years. I suffered from long-standing extreme anxiety. I was like a professional-grade warrior. I had depression, self-hatred, frequent suicidal thoughts, and demonic nightmares. By the time I was 19, I was on antidepressants and I was drinking too much too often. I felt ugly and worthless, and in an attempt to feel beautiful and loved, I gave away what should have been kept for my future husband. I was full of fear all the time about pretty much everything. To put it mildly, I was a big old mess. At the time, I was studying acting at university. My current boyfriend had cheated on me and we'd broken up. My family had entirely disintegrated and I was spiralling out of control. All I had left was acting, which was the thing that I loved most, in which I found my identity. I'd just come off working on a really big production where the director was never happy with what I brought along and seemed pretty much angry with me the whole time. So when I was called into an office and all the faculty staff were there, I was pretty sure it wasn't good news. When they told me to leave, sort myself out and come back in a year, I thought I was going to die. I'd failed. I now had nothing left to live for. Medication couldn't fix me, people couldn't fix me, and I certainly couldn't fix myself. After a couple more toxic, self-destructive bender months, I moved back to Brisbane to live with Mum, and I was at the point of live or die. One night, Mum invited me to come along to church with her. She'd actually become a Christian when I was about 9. Thank God for praying mothers. And I thought, why not? Don't think things can get any worse. I don't remember anything the pastor was saying, but I was sitting up the back somewhere and I just looked at the cross and I felt something, Holy Spirit, grab my heart and squeeze, and I just fell to pieces in the right kind of way. Jesus didn't think I was a waste of space. He died to set me free. So on that night, I decided I wouldn't take my life. Instead, I would give it to Jesus. And through a monsoon of tears, I asked His forgiveness for all the stuff-ups, all the times that I'd hurt myself and others, and I asked Him to be the Lord of my life. I wish that I could say from there that it was really easy and I instantly became a good Christian, like I had 52 Bibles, could quote scripture on demand, drank only holy water. But the truth was that I'd broken myself into so many pieces that it was a really long process of God gently putting me back together into the beautiful He had always intended. I continued to make really rubbish choices for a very long time, years in fact. I needed a lot of retraining. I had no grid on how to live a godly life, conduct appropriate relationships, or even how to feel happy. Like being comfortable with feelings of happiness took a really long time. It had to be a conscious choice. It felt so foreign. Now, 18 years have passed since Jesus saved my life. In preparing what to share with you today, trying to sum up the incredible goodness God has poured out on me in that time almost broke my heart. There aren't enough words to describe the transformation that God has brought about in me to bring me from that dark pit of despair to this green, open field of blessing that I find myself in today. So straight out of uni, God opened doors to a theatre company that provided wonderful opportunities and a community of many Christian artists who became some of my best friends. One of them became my future husband, the wonderful McIntosh. Love you, darling. Woo woo. God took me into a season of what I can only describe as a season of signs and wonders to show me His love and His character. I saw God cast demons out of my life. He healed my dreams. He miraculously healed my body of scoliosis, a spinal condition that I had suffered my whole life. He continued to heal my heart and miraculously provided in the financial and the physical time and time again. He blessed me with a home, beautiful children who have taught me so much about God's love for us. And he blessed me with this beautiful church family. During this season of immense blessing, I was just so grateful to God. I was just so grateful to him that I just started dancing in worship, despite my embarrassment about all of that. I couldn't help it. He's just so good. As I was thinking about what I wanted to share further with you about today, I really felt that it was how his perfect love has cast fear out of my life, in particular, the fear of man. I remember many years ago there was this visiting speaker who came to church, and as part of his message he told this story about his daughter, about how one time her grandma had said, "Honey, you're so beautiful," and she said, "I know it." And when questioned further about how do you know it, she said, "Because my daddy says so." That struck me. My whole life I have struggled to feel like I'm enough or value, let alone like myself or think I'm beautiful, but I found it hard to shake that feeling that God is always angry at me. Because I think as Aussies there's this kind of cultural thing of pulling down anyone who has any kind of confidence and that nobody likes a big noter. But knowing I'm of value because God says I am has since then been like this little pearl that I've been treasuring and really trying desperately to make my own. I don't know about you, but as a Christian I've found it really easy to get this I'm a worm mentality. I've realised, though, that a worm farm church probably isn't much use to God or anyone else, for that matter. A whole bunch of worms crawling around. Having a healthy love for self that stems from who God says I am means that I can love other people properly. We are his sons and daughters. It's why he went to the cross for us. This identity pearl is the fruit of the latest season of God's love in my life. So basically all last year I wrestled with God about who I am. To be blunt, I just absolutely had a gutful of being swayed and fearing what people thought about me all the time. I had this sense that if I could just know who I am and like myself, I could be useful to God and to others. Some of you, I just really felt like there was this fear that was still holding me back, and I don't know, some of you might feel the same way, that there's like this fear that's weighing you down, stopping you from becoming who you're meant to be. Proverbs 29:25 says, "Fear of man will prove to be a snare, but whoever trusts in the Lord is kept safe." A good friend sent this proverb to me at a really fearful time in my life. And I have held on to this verse like crazy, pulling it out whenever I'm feeling worried about a situation. This may surprise you, but as an introvert, large groups of people where I have to play myself can sometimes terrify me. So I said Proverbs 29 a lot before getting up here today. Maybe just once or twice. Okay, maybe I'm saying it right now. So towards the end of last year, I was booked to speak at a Christian high school about faith in the arts. And I really felt led to speak about this same thing of identity and fear. And I felt really like a fraud as I prepared, knowing that it was like the central obstacle in my life. So as I prayed and I struggled and I prepared, I finally allowed God to teach my heart. You see, I'd known all of this stuff in my head for years, but I'd never really let it get into my heart, I am his beloved daughter. He loves me and he likes me. There's nothing that can separate us. There's no fear of failure with God. A few days later at a conference here, actually, everything that I heard confirmed what God had been saying to me in the secret place, and it was just me and him. I was overwhelmed by his love. Several times that weekend, God called me pure. I'd never thought of myself like that. I'm not perfect, and I certainly had not lived a pure life. But Jesus had fully redeemed me, and I am clean. And the dancing resurfaced. I didn't care what anyone thought. It was for God, because he is so worthy of everything, of all my love. He brought me this incredible freedom. And I've seen the power of this playing out in day-to-day life in situations that would normally have intimidated me. So like now, if I go to a theatre opening night where there are scary, important people, I can just have normal, non-awkward conversations without feeling that sickening fear. It's really great. People are people, and God is God. God has consistently rained down his love and melted the hardness of my former heart and given me a heart of flesh. God has forgiven my many sins. He has healed my body, my mind, and my heart. He saved my life. He has blessed Josh's and my family beyond measure. His perfect love has cast out my fear. There's this story in the Bible, lots of you probably know it, about this woman with an alabaster jar. She's a sinful woman, but she has encountered Jesus. She takes this jar of expensive perfume that she's been saving up, and she goes and she finds Jesus at this house full of religious men. And they're all looking down their noses at her. All of them except for Jesus. And she goes in anyway. She doesn't care what they think, and she's so full of love and gratitude for what Jesus has done for her that she starts crying so much that she can wash his feet with her tears. And she kisses them and she dries them with her hair. And then she pours this beautiful, expensive perfume all over Jesus. And he commends her for it. And this Good Friday, this occasion when we recognise the ultimate act of God's love, I have been reminded of the woman with the alabaster jar. Her humility, her sacrifice, her gratitude and her adoration. I am definitely a work in progress, we all are. But I feel the permission to abandon myself to adore him and the boldness to be his light and life wherever I go. I wouldn't be alive without Jesus. He has revealed his incredible love to me. It is natural and good for me to reveal my love to him. I just want you to know that he loves you. He died to save you because you are worth it. He wants to set you free. Not to stand over you with rules and a stick and sit you on the naughty chair or anything like that, because when he was nailed to that cross and died for something he didn't even do and rose again and conquered death, he did that so he could pay for all the yuck, not so that you can crawl around like a worm in the mud again, so that you can live in freedom, life, peace, joy and love. Please don't waste another second living life without Jesus, living in fear. Choose love, because love has chosen you.